but nevertheless they were absolutely harmless, especially comparing to some others. "Oh, seems like I forgot a key. Don't worry, take mine." I was surprised by Miku's short reply. "Do you live together?" "Of course, didn't you know? Together. Our cabin is in the rearmost. Our cabin is the rearmost, I mean the farthest from here. I mean the last one." I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told me that Lena lived with Slavia. Or with Xenia at worst. Even electronic. But silent and shy Lena and excessively talking to Miku making company. That's really a surprise. "Did you find your Shurik?" "It's strange that Xenia is disturbed by someone's problems." "No." "Sure he is at the village buying cigarettes. Or vodka," she snorted. "Village?" That very moment conversation got much more interesting. "Anything wrong with villages?" Xenia looked amazed. "You mean there's a village nearby?" "I think so," she said uncertainly. I looked at Lena and Miku, but they were busy with their meals and did not pay attention to our conversation. "You mean you don't know exactly?" "Why should I care?" Xenia stared at her dish. "But there must be localites. Localities nearby? Localities? I don't know." Listening? "I don't know. Will you let me eat?" It seems like I won't get anything from her, though there is a chance that she really doesn't know. The remaining time was spent listening to Miku talking about some nonsense. I was just slowly going mad in silence. Obviously, the first thing I did after going out after that was inhaling a great amount of fresh air. The sun was setting. I decided to take a walk. Highly unlikely that I would find anything more exciting to do for the rest of the evening. That way something interesting could arise quite unexpectedly. I was approaching the square when I heard a loud clap. Seems like something exploded! I felt paralyzed. I am in a hostile environment, not knowing rules and laws of this place. It would be better for me to run, but at the same time I was curious. Probably I would just keep here standing. But somebody grabbed my hand. It was Olga Dmitrievna. "Why are you standing here? Let's go and see what happened. Can't you ever manage without me?" I begged her piteously. "It shouldn't be anything serious, I hope." Oh, is that just like the palette on Jenda, or is he on fire? We came to the square that there was already a crowd of pioneers. Olga Dmitrievna vigorously pushed through the crowd and approached towards the crime scene. Obviously, someone tried to blow up Jenda, but attackers failed. The monument was still standing upright. There were only dim ash traces at the pedestal. "Well, and who did this?" She looked over a crowd of pioneers. Sure thing it wasn't done by an organized terrorist bunch. They all came here just to look at what happened. I noticed Juliana and Elisa in the crowd, and it looks like our camp leader noticed them too. "You two, here!" They approached reluctantly. "Why always me?" "If you think so, show me your hands, Terrorism said. What's wrong with them?" I looked closer and saw that they were smeared with black. Now it's clear. "What did you make a bomb with?" Junior terrorists seemed to be hesitating whether to confess or not, but then blurted out proudly. "Activated carbon, saltpeter, and sulfur." Wait a minute. Carbon that she stole from the first aid post. Why exactly a monument? What did this honored man ever do to you? The fighter for the rights of ... I could hardly imagine how long would she keep on scolding Elisa if Electronic wouldn't pop out that very moment shouting, I found it! Everyone turned towards him. He held a boot in his hand. "Here!" Electronic boastfully shook it over his head. "It's Shurik's boot!" "Okay, calm down. Tell us in detail where you did find it." I don't know what that said. "In the forest, on the way to the old camp." Whispers ran among the pioneers. Old camp? Old camp. Old camp. Dang it. Are you sure? Absolutely. What's wrong with this old camp? I joined in the conversation. Nothing special, really, she stammered. One of the Soviet legends tells the story of a young camp's leader's ghost living there. She fell in love with a pioneer, but he rejected her, and so she killed herself. Did harakiri with a kitchen knife. Next day, that boy was hit by a bus. Uliana ran out of the crowd. Bus? I held myself from asking about the road's number. But science doesn't prove ghost existence, so we have nothing to be afraid of. Anyway, somebody should go there. Suddenly, the crowd started to thin. Olga Dmitrievna, it's almost night. Maybe tomorrow? I turned around and saw Slavia and Lena. What if at night something happens to him? No, today, right now! By the way, where is this place? Electronic roughly described me the directions and told me the story of the old camp. Oh my gosh. My room is completely dark, and if this turns into a horror game, like I turned off the lights and it's so dark outside. My TV is the only light coming in my room, so I really don't want this to turn into a horror game. Camp leader looked at me attentively. If you think that you're the only man here. I looked around the area. That's right, Electronic was quick to flee. I still don't want to walk in the woods alone. If you ask me, I would go with Lena. Hey, it's foolish to think that Lena won't get scared. Am I going there alone? Olga Dmitrievna looked thoughtful. Perhaps you're right. We'll go together tomorrow morning. No. We stood in silence for some time, then dispersed over the camp. Everybody seemingly forgot about Elisa and her terrorist act, maybe due to the minor damage it caused. Together with the camp leader, we moved towards their cabin. I tried to think why Shirk would go to the old camp. He is interested in robots and cybernetics, not scary stories and ghosts. What does it have to do with that boot? I remember how I decided to wait until something extraordinary would happen. And then I realized, this is it. Olga Dmitrievna, I think I'll take a walk before sleep. Just not a long one, off a short pier. Ah, okay. Is he still on fire? When I reached the square, I understood that hanging around in the forest or at some other hell place may not be that scary. But doing this in the dark, I didn't want to return to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin, but I had to find a flashlight. For instance, in the infirmary. I was glad I didn't spend the whole time there reading the fashion magazine. ... The flashlight was found quickly, and in a few minutes, I was again standing at the square putting myself together. I just had to make the final decision before I entered the forest. Moving along the pioneers' cabins by the forest path and the abandoned camp, I set forth. Electronic told me that the old building was built immediately after the war. It looked like a kindergarten, or like a barrack, as I expected, and definitely could fit less pioneers than today's camp. It was abandoned for about 20 years. Oh no, it was now totally dark. The forest looked totally different at night. Mysterious shadows were hiding behind the trees. Strange rustling cries of night birds coming from everywhere. Branches treacherously crunching under my feet. The full moon was shining, so I decided to save the battery in the flashlight. Sure, I will need it sometime soon. The further I moved, the less pleasant thoughts were coming into my head. No. Don't get scary. I wasn't afraid of the dark at all. I didn't believe in ghosts or other mystical crap. But at the same time, during the last few days, I encountered so many incomprehensible phenomena that against my own will I started to look between the lines in the simplest things. Obviously, I felt exceptionally uneasy in the forest at night. Everywhere I looked, every shadow, every tree or bush looked like weird creatures escaping straight from horror movies or from Stephen King novels. A branch seemed to be someone's hand, so eager to grab your shoulder. Lying log, someone's dead body, someone who failed to get out of the forest. In every ravine I saw bottomless abyss. If I would find myself in this forest under any other circumstances without all these trees and buses and pioneers' camps, of course I would still find myself uncomfortable. But then I would be able to explain everything with logic and be afraid of nothing, of course, except for owls and mice. Oh my gosh, this ambient noise. But at the moment, there were more than enough reasons to fear. Despite all this, I reached the old camp without any adventures. ... Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go turn on my light real quick. Just let me There we go. That's a lot better. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Paint peeled off the walls. Almost all windows were broken. Broken masonry here and there. Holes in the roof looked like those produced by bombing. In front of the building there was a little garden surrounded by a rusty fence. Apparently once it was a playground with a merry-go-round, swings, chutes, and other Soviet attractions. But time is cruel. All of them were mutilated by corrosion and broken. The grass was so tall that it almost came up to my waist. In America, chutes are called slides, because you slide down when slide. Moon looked out from behind the clouds and illuminated the old camp.